Okay, so welcome to the Google Sites class that we have. In this class, we'll be looking how to make a free website with a Google account or Google Drive account. If you have a Gmail account, then you have both of those. So it's a free website that we can make and host. We don't have to pay to have it live and public to anybody that we want. We don't need to code at all on this type of website. You don't need to know HTML and things like that. It's all going to be visual and clicking and dragging, visual elements to build up the web page. So we'll kind of see all that, but that's kind of the basics, with the basis of what Google Sites is and what we'll look at today. So if you take a look, so if you've logged into Google, into Gmail, you can see up in the top right, you have the little menu option of all the Google apps. And a lot of us will know how to get to Gmail. Some of us will use Google Drive. That's how we save files and have an online file system, essentially. Some of us might use, docs and sheets to make, spreadsheets and things like that, documents. You got things like Google Photos, which maybe a lot of people use on the phone. So Google has a whole bunch of free apps, contacts, things like this. And one of them that's just kind of innocently hanging out in this list is this one called Google Sites. And when we click on this, we'll basically be able to make a website and we'll be able to publish it in a couple seconds. And then we'll see how to edit and add content. But just with the click of the button, we'll be able to get a whole website going that anyone can access. We can have as long as we want, have as many web pages as we want, stuff on it, any of that kind of stuff. So if you want, you can go in this way. So you can click on the Google Apps and then go to Sites. I'm going to go in this way. I'm in my Google Drive itself. So I have all my files and images and things in my Drive. I'm in just a specific place in my Google Drive, which I just happen to call Google Sites, all the content I have about this class. And what we do when we, or what we get when we make
I'm so sorry. It didn't come up when I looked at my apps.
Oh, if it doesn't, it could be kind of hiding down at the bottom. I think if you haven't clicked it, it might not show up. So check all the way down at the bottom if you have like an additional option.
Before I asked you. No, there's, okay, let me look again. Shopping docs, sheets, Hangouts. No.
Okay, so why don't you do it the way that I'm doing it? So go into Drive. You can just go, at the homepage of Drive. You can go into a specific place. And then the second way to make a site, because when we make a site, it's going to be kept in a specific place in my Google Drive. You can see this is the demo website that I made. So this little file just next to these image files and these slideshows and things, this is my website, this thing called My Website. So I'm going to make a new website inside my Google Drive because when I do it like this, it's going to save it in the specific place that I want. If you just make it from that home page, this page, it'll still go into Google Drive and you can move it to the place that you want, but we can also do it this way. So from this menu inside Google Drive, just click on the new button up at the top. This is how we can usually upload files to save them in the cloud. You can make new text documents, spreadsheets, slideshows. And if we click on this additional option down at the bottom, then we see these kind of less common apps. Google Sites is one of them. So hopefully you should see it now. If you don't, you might click this connect additional apps at the bottom, and then you can find it in that. But let me know if you see it now at this point.
Yes. Yeah, I just added it and it came up with your page.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think it wasn't on the homepage just because you haven't used it yet. So it probably will be now that you've clicked it once. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. So now I've left Drive. Now I'm in the Google Sites app to make a site. Kind of in just a blank site, and we can immediately see I'm in kind of like a visual editing mode. So off to the side, we can see like text box and images, embeds. We can see some like layout options to plan things out on the page. And then we have a whole bunch of like special things like buttons, putting on a video onto the web page. We can see, just kind of glancing at everything at once ahead of getting into it, If we go this way, we can see pages. So eventually, aside from my home page, which I'm on now, I can add, a whole bunch of pages on top of that, an about page, a contact page, depending on the type of site that you want. We can just add pages and subpages this way. So that's one of the main options on this menu. And then the last option, which we'll get into in just a couple minutes, is the theme. So this is how we kind of choose what the website looks like, choosing the font and the background color and things like that. So we'll come back to themes in a minute and kind of set like a global website theme that will apply to any and all pages that we make. So we have a nice consistent website that looks the same across, however many pages that we make. So a little bit, just stepping back 1 second, just to kind of, again, outline what Google Site is going to do. We can see just from this menu, it's all buttons. It's all this clicking things, clicking and dragging to resize them, to move them. We'll do all this in a second. But it's all just buttons. If you have needed to make a website, but you haven't had any, web development skills, you don't know HTML and CSS, you don't know how to find a web host, or maybe you don't have the funds to pay to host it. We don't need any of that. We don't need an employee to be minding the website and update it and things like that so it doesn't break. We don't need any of that. Google's going to handle all the code. It's free to use. It's pretty easy to create a site. We just made one. We'll be able to publish it and have it fully live as soon as we get to it in just like 2 clicks. And it's also just as easy to edit the site, anytime we want to add new content, make changes, things like that. So we don't need to do any code, no keeping track of web hosting and upgrades and things like that. Everything is built in and maintained by Google, and it's all just easy buttons and things like that on the side. A couple of the disadvantages, like Joanne said in the beginning, it's a little less customizable. We just have these like set elements and couple things. So if you know a little bit of HTML and CSS, with that type of code, you can make almost anything, anything that you can make onto a website. You can completely customize it, look any way you want, behave any way that you want. With this, it's mostly just going to be a static, nice looking website. It can have all the content we want. It's going to look really good. But we just have a couple options. We don't have the full gamut if we knew the CSS language to style the website uniquely. In addition to a little less style customability, we have a little less functionality. Like I just said, it's mostly a static website. So we can't do things like sell products, and we can't directly have a place to have like a contact submission or like submit a message to the web host of the group that this website is with. We'll see how to add a little of that in to add a little functionality, but it's basically just a website with content on it that people come to and see it, but they can't interact with you, too much. And then the last kind of limitation is if we look up at the top, we can see this is kind of the base web address that we'll be getting. Once we publish it, it's always going to begin sites.google.com, and then it's going to be slash, maybe I think it's slash the name of the project that you give it, or the name of the website in total, and then slash homepage slash about. But we don't get to fully choose and have a custom web address. Joanne, go ahead.
So is it hackable?
Is it hackable?
Yeah.
That I haven't seen. It's pretty safe. Do you mean hackable?
Like if I were, like, say I wanted to put up a website just for people to go to for information, I always talk about resources.
Yeah.
Can somebody like then not hold it hostage or something like that? Can they? Is it?
Yeah, so it's mostly safe as any Google product. Obviously, since it's a static website, it doesn't have like a database of people's, financial and payment, things like that. So it's as safe as Gmail and as safe as Google Drive. We will see once we get to publishing it, you can both choose to fully publish it. So if you need to, spread the web address to get as many people to come to the site as possible, you can do that. You can also have it kind of locked down, so only the people that you send this web address to can even access it or even see it in that sense. But Hackable, it's as safe as any, Google product in that
Thank
way.
you. That's exactly what I was looking for. All the information you provided is great. Thank you.
So I'm gonna leave this new project that we've just begun just 1 second and show you this website. This is just the NYPL's Tech Connect website, so all the technology classes and things that they do. This is the specific website they had to do that. So you can see it's got image content and links, links to social media. They've embedded the tweet feed. They got a footer at the bottom. They have a nice navigation up at the top, different pages, different layouts with images and things. We can see a couple pages, different ways to block out elements and things, listing things. And then you can even do, file downloads, incorporate images and videos. But the main point, obviously, is that this is a Google Sites website. So anything that we can see on this website, it's a good one to go to kind of just look across the website and see what they've done and how nice it looks. It's a responsive website. So as if someone's on a mobile phone and goes to the website, it's going to shrink it in a way that still looks good and is still usable. And now it looks kind of like a mobile edition of the website. All that's automatic. So this is a good example of a Google site that you can go to, in between this class and maybe making the website that you need to make. Lots of good examples to see, fully what it can do. So let me come on back to the site. So what we'll do, this is the home page. So if we take a look at the right and I click on pages, I'm just on my home page. So when I'm in editing mode, I see one page at a time. This is my whole page. It's kind of blank. It just has the kind of title at the top. And then on this button, I have all the elements that I can add to put, content and text blocks down below. But I'm just going to do like two things, and then we'll actually publish the website. It'll be fully live in a second, and then we'll be able to see what it looks like live as we edit and republish it. So we can see between the edit mode and what people will actually see when they come to it. So up in the top left, this is going to be kind of the name of my project, and this is going to be included in the web address. So if I kind of edit this one, if I name my project, I believe it's going to show up as this element of the web address, kind of the second thing past sites.google.com. So that's going to be the project name or the whole site name. And then my second slash is going to be the name of kind of any specific web page. So what I'm about to set up is probably going to look like this, my project slash home or home page. So that's kind of how the web address will come about. So you can name it anything you want. You can go back and change it, I believe, but we'll just do kind of a demo site. So I'm just going to name it something like this. I'll call it my project. In Google Sites, we can see, just like all Google products, changes get saved kind of automatically. So I don't need to do file save with this. But as I edit my site like I'm doing now, it's not instantly updating my site that's live. I need to initially publish it. And then anytime I continue to make changes, it's going to save them kind of in my edit mode, but I still need to keep clicking on publish to take the most recent changes and put it live to the web. So it saves it automatically, but it doesn't publish it automatically. So in the middle, this is the name of kind of my website. This is my kind of title at the top of my website. Like if we come to just any old website, this is kind of what I'm making, the title of the web page. So this I'm just going to call home. You can call it anything you want, depending on what you want to make. So I'm just going to stick in title. I'm not going to spend too much time making up, some fake content. I'll just call it what it is. So when we do this, we can just click on it. We get all the kind of text editing tools pop up. So we can, we'll leave this because it's a title. We can change the font to be something specific that we want. we'll see in a couple minutes how we can change the theme of the whole website and then mass apply a chosen font that we want consistent across the website. So I'm also going to leave this as it is now. I got my font size, bold, italic, underline, links that we'll do in text boxes down below, but not so much in the title. Some additional options like alignment and indentation, things like that. The usual stuff you get anytime you have a text editing thing. So that's my two things. Oops. That's my two things that I'm going to set up now. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and publish my website so we can see what that looks like. So up in the top right, this is the button I'm going to click now. And anytime I have my live website and want to update it, this will be the same button, this publish button. So this is going to pop up now because I just made my site. So yes, my project is kind of the name of my whole website. And then any web page name is going to be added on to kind of the end of my new web address that I'm getting right now. So this is this. You probably don't see this box down below, who can view my site. My Gmail is with my library system, so I'm kind of linked to them. But I'm just going to manage this. And then I get to these kind of options. And I'm just going to change this to make it public. So now anyone who has my link, anyone who maybe Googles the name of my website and finds it in the Google results will be able to see it. So I'll just click done, go back to this. So name of my website, anyone can see it. One last option we have, again, like I said, if you want to keep this kind of like a private website, just send it like within a company or to a classroom if you teach, or maybe just friends and family. You can do a couple things like keep it private, ask Google not to put it up in its Google results. You can click this if you want, but I'm just going to make mine as public as possible since it's just a dummy website. So go ahead and click publish. It says down at the bottom, publish successfully. I can click this view button, but I'm just going to show you how to always view it if we don't see that little pop-up. So up again by the publish button, I'm going to click on the little drop down next to the publish button. And now what I can do is I can click on view published site. And this is now going to open my site as it is live on the web. So if you want, you could type this in your own web window and see my site. So we can see it's got the defaults, just a couple bits of content that we have. The pen down at the bottom, that's only showing up because it's my website and I'm logged in. So it's saying, oh, do you want to go edit this page? Obviously, most people won't see this pen down in the bottom. But now we have a nice website. It's all set up, mostly empty. So we'll go back and continue to add content and see how we can customize it. But it is fully public and live right now.
A quick question on the upper left-hand corner, yours says my project. Can you get rid of that?
We'll see. I think there's a couple options that we'll see as we go along to like add logos and things like that, especially in the top box. So we'll see. I don't know if we can hide the name of the website itself. That might be something they mandate, but we'll see as we get into the settings. Basically right now. That's a good question though. Okay. In fact, actually ahead of beginning to customize it, I want to go back to my Google Drive. Let me just update my page. And I just want to show how you can find this again to open it and go back to edit mode. Once you come back to this project, as you maintain the website that you have, you just come into Google Drive. In my website, it's just a file, kind of, like anything else. Any of the PDFs, the Google slideshows, and images that I put in my Google Drive. It's just a single item within my drive. So I can kind of, put this any place I want. If I want to move it, I can, flag it and do anything I want to it. But this is how you can come back and find it. It's just in Google Drive. So you can come back and open it that way. Okay. Oh, and one last way we can get back to the site, I'll go ahead and show this. So if we go to Google homepage, go to Google Apps up in the top, And we find that Sites button, and anyone who didn't see it previously, it might pop up now that we've just used it, now that it's a recently used app. If I open up Google Sites, this looks a lot like, Google Docs when you open up a new text document. We use the template. We can see it pulls all the Google Sites files out of my Google Drive. So this is a second way that you can find it easy. Just open up Google Sites itself and then open up the project. So you can do that as well when you want to get back to this. Okay, so we'll go ahead and begin to edit the homepage and see how to actually make the website now that we have one. So to begin, we'll go ahead and do some things like, the main things up at the top, add a logo and things like that. So what we can do, we can see it actually pops up when I put my mouse on top. So I'm just going to click on Add Logo. And we can see the Settings menu pops up. We can also get to the Settings menu with this button, the Settings button. So you can do it either way. We can see a bunch of settings we'll talk about as we go down the class. So logo, this is going to be kind of my website logo that's at the top of my website, kind of, like this is at the library website. That's going to be on all my pages. And when you click on it, it's going to take you back to the home page. So that's what the logo is going to do. So I'm going to click Upload. So if you click Upload, you can get an image file off the PC or the laptop you're using now. You can also click Select, and the nice thing about this, it being Google Sites, is it has automatic access to my Google Drive. So if I'm keeping all the images and content that I'm using on my site in Google Drive, I can find it easily this way as well. So I'm in my Drive. Let me just find a nice image. You can kind of find anything you want online, or, just hang on to do that. But I'm just going to choose, I'll just choose the library logo. So we can see we got that. We can add some alt text. If we want, alt text is it's basically a thing that has two functions. And as you add images and things, you might want to think about this. Even though it's not a fully fledged website that you code and things, we still have to pay attention to a couple things. Alt text is what's used by people who use special like screen reading technology, people who don't have sight, who use technology to like read aloud the content on a website. This is what alt text is. Since they can't, see this image, we can add, logo for the library. So when the technology reads aloud what that image is, it pulls the alt text instead, and they know what's going on the website.
Did you just show that one more time? Because where did you find the alt text?
It should just be below my logo when you open up settings.
Nope.
Did you add a logo yet?
I added a favicon.
That might not, I don't think that one has alt text. So when you add a logo, it should show up below it. The alt text box will just show up once you have an actual logo.
How do I, so I can just select one from them? Hold on. So it just says logo and favicon.
Yeah, so on logo. Yeah,
no,
so
there's no logo. I'm sorry, there's logo. I apologize.
No, it's fine.
Select.
Yeah, so I just selected one out of my drive. If you don't have an image handy, you can just Google image, anything that you want, just to kind of placeholder to see what it looks like. But I added just the actual logo at the library, and you can see when that pops up, the alt text box.
Oh, I see now. Okay, I apologize. Yeah. I went to favicon because I couldn't do it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that now. So anyone who doesn't know what a fav icon is, so this is my logo. So this is what's going to be, across all web pages except that one. When they come to like this page. So we can see the logo as well as the navigation is the same across most web pages on most websites. Same with Google Sites. So I'm going to have my logo, and that acts as kind of a home button when I click on it. So that's what we'll get. The fav icon, which we see just below the logo option, this thing up in the top on the tab, on my window tab, this little logo is what the fav icon is. So when you open up a tab, you get a little logo of the company, something like that. This is, Google Sites fav icon, that little box. Tech Connect has the little NYPL lion. So it's just a little, small resolution logo. It's easy to see when it's quite small. That's what the Fav icon is. It also shows up when you kind of save web pages on this, and then you have all the Fav icons as well. So it's just kind of a little logo that symbolizes the website. So I'll come back in. I'm going to select a Fav icon. And again, you need like kind of a small resolution image. So we can see this one. It looks quite pixelated at this size, but once it gets shrunk down like this, it won't be too bad as a Fav icon. That one doesn't have alt text. So we'll go ahead and close that. We can see, so we got the logo now. It's blue on like almost black. So we'll have to change the theme a little bit, and we'll get to that in just a second. But let's go ahead and check on the website. Let me open it back up. So I'm going to go to the publisher dropdown, view published site. And we can see it's still the same as always. And that's, like I said, we've been saving these changes as we see, but we just need to publish them live. So go ahead and click publish. Now, when we get to publish, we see kind of a nice breakdown of all the changes that happened. So on the left side, we have what I have now and what I want to update to. This is what the site is now live on the web on this side. And we also have on the left the couple things written in text as to what I did. So it's a nice layout rundown that Google gives us. So just click on publish. Give it a second. It says site has been successfully published. We'll go ahead and view published site. Sometimes it'll take maybe a minute to be fully, to kind of push those changes live to the web, but we can see mine was almost instantaneous. So I have my logo now next to my site name. And we can also see I got my Fav icon now as well. So that's pretty good.
If the Fav didn't come up on my tab,
Yeah.
is it? It didn't. I mean, the logo came up on my home page.
Yeah, just go back. So just go back to settings and just double check that it kind of saved the Fav icon you chose.
So settings, go to brand images, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
does it still show it?
Yep.
Okay. What kind of image is it? Is it like a big resolution?
Like a ball of yarn.
Yeah, so Fav icons, they tend to ask them to be like quite small resolution. So if you don't see it, and it might just still take a minute. So next time we publish and see the changes, it might show up then still. But if it's not showing up still, you might need to like Google, open Fav icons and just download a little logo from some free website. And it might just not show up until you have a small enough one to show up. Yeah, thank you. That would be my suggestion. Okay. So we got the logo, got the Fav icon, so we've kind of customized the page a little bit. Now we'll come to themes and kind of set a whole bunch of themes, font things and things that'll be applied to the whole website, all the web pages that we have. So on the right-hand side, we'll go ahead and click on themes. Google gives us just a couple built-in themes. So you can see as I click on these, it kind of changes, the font and the background gives me like a nice color palette if I want to use those. So if you want, maybe just choose one of these now, since you might not have, what you want to do in mind, but I'm going to show you how to make a custom one just so we can kind of see all the options you can do with a custom one. So I'm going to create a theme and we'll see all the things that we can fully add to it. I'm just going to call it my theme. That's just what it'll show up as in this list once I make it. Add a logo, add a banner image. We just added a logo, so I'm just going to skip that because it's already in place. But I will add this image. So let me go to the plus button. Again, I'll click select. That's going to take me to Google Drive instead of my PC files. I have one that I want to use, this like long, not too tall image. So I'm going to click on this one and we'll see it pop up once we finish all these settings, but that's set in place now. And what this is, this banner image, it's basically, if I go back to the library website. Hang on a second. It's basically gonna be like this building behind my title. This is what it's gonna be. It's gonna be the kind of default image that shows up on all the web pages behind the page title. So that's what we just set. Go to next. Again, we can choose, we have additional options now, like built-in palettes that they have, and these will be applied to like the text and things, different ways that we'll see, but we can also customize it fully. So if I want my own color palette that I want to do, I can click on custom, and then you can, pick any of these. You can click on the plus button and choose a totally custom one. And you can also, if you know the hex code, type it in manually. This is the blue that we use at the library, this blue that we use on all the logos and things. So I'm going to add that blue. I'll also add the kind of, E18812. This is the kind of gold that we use, with this gold and the lines between things. So that's just a little highlight that we have on the library website. So we have that. I don't really have one beyond that in mind, so I'll just make the last one white at the moment. And then the last thing we have to do is just choose some fonts. So with most websites, things like titles and big headings, you have one font, and then most of the body text and everything else gets a second font. So we'll just go ahead. You can kind of browse it. They have some built-in fonts. You can also click on this button and get like a huge list of fonts. You can upload custom ones if you want. But I'll just go ahead and pick some random ones just so we can see it change. Actually, I'm not going to make my body text like that. I'll choose this one. So I've set my things, and I'll just make my theme. Now we can see when I made my theme, it kind of changed my website because my theme is going to apply to most of the pages. So even if I update my theme from now on, it'll kind of retroactively change my pages to continue to match the global theme on my site. So now in themes, I can click on my theme, click on edit, can see all the options. We have a bunch of options, even beyond the ones that we just set. We can do some settings about images. We can kind of control some things about the navigation, the little navigation menu at the top, different things about, components and what buttons look like and things like that, what links show up as, and then some stuff about like the spacing of elements, how crowded you want the website to be. So once we have some stuff on the page, you can go back, change some of these and see what you like, but we'll just leave most of those now. But you can see you have quite a couple options now. So let's go ahead and publish the site again. So we can see we didn't add any content, we just styled it anew. So let me update, go back to the public site. We can see it's a little bit delayed, so maybe we'll come back in a second if it's not updating immediately. Okay, yes, it took a couple seconds. Now I got my site. You can see I still need to change some things. Maybe this title isn't big enough. The background image doesn't quite go with my logo. It kind of blends in. But that's the kind of stuff you'll have to deal with as you add your own stuff, see what fits, see what has to be changed. Okay, so we'll go back to my project. So we'll go ahead and just fix this actually. We'll come to title and we'll just boost this. So it's quite big. Publish that. And now that looks not as bad. Okay, so what we'll do next, we'll just get a little, so we'll come back to the title and we'll kind of use this as a demo to see what we can do with kind of any text box. And then we'll look at some of these options on the side, all the actual stuff we can add to the page. So when we click on an element, and it could be an image, could be like a button or a YouTube video, we just click on it and we see this blue box pop up. So this is my element that I'm on now. We'll have an options menu pop up like we just talked about a second ago. With a text box, you have all the usual styling choices and different things. But in addition to changing the content itself, we can do things like change the size of the content, change its place on the page. So we can, when we click on it, we can see these little resize buttons on the side. So if I don't want my title, even though it makes the most sense in the middle of the page, but just to demo, I can pull it to the left if I want. And then maybe I want like a left aligned title on my page. So I can move it to the left if I want like this. And this is going to change its alignment on the page. I can also, if I put my mouse just at the top of this blue highlighted box, I can kind of click and drag it. And now you can see as I pull it across, I'm kind of choosing which place to put it like this. If I want it left aligned, I'll drop it now. I can put it on this side. If I put it in the middle, you can see down at the bottom, it's kind of showing me that it's in the middle. So it's nice that it shows me that I'm exactly aligned in the middle. This kind of click and drag is going to be how we'll move kind of everything and lay it out once we have a bunch of elements down below, putting things side by side, making one thing kind of take up most of the page and something little next to it on this side of the page, you know, that kind of thing. In fact, we'll go ahead and just do one little demo one. So we'll come on this side of the page. Let's just add a second text box just to see what it's like when we add the most basic element, move it, and then update the page to see what happens. So I'll click on text box. Usually when we add, you know, any of these elements on the side, it's going to pop it kind of at the bottom of the page below everything else. And this is the place we could do leave it if we want to, you know, now add the content to the website, but I'm actually just going to move it up this way. So again, we can just put the mouse kind of in the top middle of this element, just below the blue line. I can click on it, and now I can kind of pull it any way that I want. So I can drop it in this way if I want. So now I have two elements up at the top of my page. I got my actual title, and let me just add some demo content just so we can see it take up a little bit of space. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time making up fake content, but so we got this on the page. And now we can see when we have two things side by side, if we kind of expand one element to make it, you know, take up 75% of this row, this one's going to shrink down so it's squished next to it. Same if I do, you know, this way. We can pick this up and kind of, you know, put it next to it on this side if we want. If we want, we can put it on top of it. So just take, you know, just play with it a little bit. You can put things next to things, stack things, all types of things. And when we want to go back, you have a nice undo button. I'm just going to leave it on this side for now. So I'm going to go ahead and publish again. Go ahead and click publish. Let me come to my website and see. It might take a minute. Okay, yeah, we got it popping up. So it looks like my site is now, I got in my edit mode, I have my title and then this little text box to the side, title and text box to the side. But now that we have at least two items on the page, we can see as we change the size of the page, AKA someone on a laptop changing the window side, someone on a mobile phone opening this website, we can see the site is automatically mobile responsive. So as I shrink the site, it's not just going to shrink the text to be unreadable. At some point, like right now, it's going to say, okay, we don't have quite enough space. So it's going to take things on the right-hand side and just drop it below. So it's going to stack things up instead of squishing them on the same row like that. So as we begin to make things and put them side by side, just keep in mind that as we switch to mobile, it'll automatically be handled, but maybe just check when you publish to see what actually happens when you look at the website in different views. But that's a nice thing that it does that, automatically. So now we'll go ahead and, just look at some of these basic elements that we can add. We'll add some actual stuff to the web page and leave the title alone now. So I'm going to go ahead. We'll click text box again. And again, it just pops up below everything else. So this is below all the content. I'm going to make this a heading. I'm going to save the title, type of text to just be this thing up at the top of the page, just like this on an actual website. But down this way, just like on this website, I have a kind of a special size and bold text, and then I have a different size and bold text to be a different title. This is what we'll call headings, these two guys, and this is what we'll call titles. So I'm going to change this to heading. I'm just going to give it, a quick name. We can do anything we want to it. I don't think I quite like this font that we've chosen, so I'm just going to change that. I'll do that. And then let's add, some fake text, like I have a blog or something, a little info page on the home page. So I'll add a second text box. Just add some text so we can see it take up some space. We can do things like add a second text box if we want below it. As we make a blog, maybe we'll just make a new indent to go to a new line. We can also do things like click on this duplicate section button, and then that'll duplicate the whole box and the text box. So we have a couple options to kind of do things again and again. But I'll click on text box, add some additional content, and then we'll kind of see when we put the mouse on the left-hand side, each of these little pop-ups is its own section on the page. We have quite a little bit of gap between these two. So anytime we add an element, it looks like it makes a whole new section to box that new piece of content in. So what we can actually do is I'm going to click on this up at the top middle to move it. And then when we do that, we can see I get kind of this grid that shows up that show me how I can place it. And we can see, let me move it like this. And now it's going to be in the same section as this box. So it's going to be close to it and not have such a big gap between it. So when you make sections on the page, or make add content to the page, you just have to see how the spacing and look of it shows up if you have things in the same section or have them spaced out in different sections. Let's go ahead. I'm just going to add a second heading. And again, we can see the usefulness of adding a theme that I applied to my body text. I chose a font that I don't quite like. So if I did that or didn't set a theme at all, I'd have to constantly update each text to be the same font. I should go back and update the theme so they all come as this by default, but it's fine for now. So let me do that. Let me add a text box. Again, we'll pop it in with this, and we can actually see this is its own section, and this is often a section. So maybe I should move this with this. Okay, that looks good. And then we'll just add some text like this. And then again, we'll just keep publishing to see what it looks like. Now that we've gotten to just adding things to the page, it's going to be a little less complicated than all the setting the themes and stuff. It's pretty obvious, what's going to go on. Again, we'll just wait a second. Now we can see we got it popping up on the page. We can see this gap that's between the two sections. So it's a good idea that I kept all of this in kind of in the same section and then put this off by itself. So putting text on the page is going to be pretty easy. Once you get to this body text of the page, this is when we'll do things like add bold text, italics, add links and things. We can add buttons in a second. So that's when we'll really be using these buttons up at the top. So anything that you want to do, alignment, bold, font, including links, things like that, we can do that with this menu up at the top. Now that we have a couple things on the page, I'm going to come out of these most common elements, and I'm actually going to come and add a table of contents. So all the stuff down this way is pre-built specific elements, not just a text box. It's going to be something specific. And if I add a table of contents, we could see one automatically added it at the top of my page. And what a table of contents does is it's going to take all the things that I flagged as a heading and automatically add it to my table of contents. And we'll see what it does in a second besides just exist. But let me add one last heading down this way. And a little bit of font, a little bit of text with it. So we can see as I add this automatically, I've added a heading and my table of contents has automatically put it into the table of contents. And now let's go ahead and publish and see what the table of contents can actually do besides, just be looked at. So I publish that. We'll give that a second to kind of update on the page. When we click on this, we can see we have a couple options. We can indent and things. If we want to hide something in the table of contents, not show quite everything, we can toggle it on and off like that. So a couple options in all these things. So just click on anything you add and see what options you have. Okay, so I'm into my live website, as the public would see it if they go to my site. And when I come down, I'm actually going to shrink this just a little bit. What this table of contents does is when you click on these, they automatically jump the page to the heading that it's automatically linked to. So if I click on 2, it puts 2 up at the top of the page. If I click on 3, it's going to pop that up at the top of the page. So it's a functional table of contents. It's not just a list up at the top. So all these things, have some specific function. So you have to take a look at, all that they do besides this. We'll just take a look at a couple of these, not really, make too much actual content, but just see what they look like and what they do. So let me I'm going to add a collapsible group. And I'm just going to add a heading. And I'm actually going to come back to my theme and change this title because it's annoying me. So I've changed my theme on this side, and you can see it automatically updated what the old theme was in this heading. So I'm going to keep that. Okay, so we got a collapsible group. We'll see what that looks like in a second. Let's go ahead and publish. Some of these we see on Tech Connect. I don't know which page to demo it, but we'll see right now what this actually does. Okay, yeah, so we got, this is what a collapsible group is. So it's one of these guys. It's basically collapsible and expandable text blocks. So if you have a whole bunch of stuff you want on the page, but you don't want to have a page, 50 feet tall or, long in height, you can add one of these so that you can just see kind of the heading of the text block that's going to show up beneath it. And you can kind of stack these kind of maybe like a Q&A thing, open up the question to see the text and then see the next question below it. All collapsible things. So that one is really useful. And that we want to be able to do unless we could put JavaScript onto the page, which we can't. So it's good that a lot of these, custom special elements exist that we can use. That's collapsible group. We have an image carousel. This one is, you can probably imagine what it's going to look like. So let me add a couple things. We'll go down the line of all these elements and then kind of play with things on the page. So let me just choose a couple things. Opened up my Google Drive, just chose a couple images, and then I'm going to add that in. Let me go ahead and once again publish. See, not quite yet. But we can see kind of what it's going to look like. It's an image carousel. If we wanted to, we could just add, a basic image and add an image block, image block, image block to have them, stacked side by side. But what a carousel is it just shows one image at a time. And then we get these kind of advanced buttons and the things down below to show how many images. So we can kind of put a bunch of images in the same place. We can see this is a little bit big. and I don't have images the same size and height anyway. So let's go back. I'm gonna go ahead and click on this. And we can see we get special sizing handles, these dots on the side. So let me actually move it down, a little bit, so it's not so big. If we click on the settings button, we can see we just get this popped back up to add new images if we want to come and update this image carousel. If we click on settings, we get, a couple settings, so we can not show the dots if we want. We can add captions to all these images. We have descriptions beneath all of them. We can also have it move automatically. So maybe I'll leave that on. So I'll say, just begin moving automatically, and we'll leave it at medium speed. So we'll update that, come back and publish, and let that update. It'll take a minute. But now that we have multiple things on the page, let's go ahead and begin to stack things and do some layouts and things. Again, just to practice, random things that we could try. So I'm just going to click and drag on this. Again, we can see these grid lines. That's all the spots that I could put it, and then any open spot next to it, I could put something else. So let me pull it up this way, and maybe I'll put it next to this. So now I have these two things stacked side by side, and maybe I'll move this in a little bit and make this this wide, and maybe make it this tall. Again, go ahead and publish, just to see what it looks like. Yeah, so now we can see we have things side by side. It moves automatically. Maybe that's a little fast, the medium speed, but you can also manually do it. If we had captions, we'd see them down below, and we have stuff side by side now. So, again, if we go back to Tech Connect, you can see this is a good site. They have all types of things stacked. So if you want to make something like this, you would add 3 images side by side, 3 text boxes side by side in the heading mode, and then put 3 text boxes below it, and then 3 buttons below that as well. So it's all just clicking and dragging to move things that way. And we'll go ahead and actually add a button, because that's pretty useful. So click and add a button. The name is the text that you'll see in the button. And then the next box, the link box, is the place you'll add the website that you want that button to link to. So we got a nice little button now. I can kind of expand it so that you can at least, see the text. You have a couple options to, what it looks like. So you can see when it's filled, it's automatically choosing that blue that I set in my theme. So that's when these theme selections come in handy. It kind of defaults to my theme choices. And if I wanted to change that, I could come to themes. And let's see. Oh, that was it. Components. Yeah, so in components, button is one of the options. So if maybe I have too much of this blue on my page, maybe I want to do something else instead. So we can customize these buttons as we want, have different effects on them. I think this is the outline of the button. Can't quite tell. But that's if you went into outline mode. So let's go like this. Outline today, that's changing that theme instead. Okay. So we won't go down to all the list of these because we still have a couple of big things that we need to look at. But we have things just a line down the middle of the page to help divide up sections. Embedding YouTube videos, that's probably going to be big on anyone's website. All you have to do is just go to YouTube, open and find the video on that page, and then just copy the web address, stick it into this, and then it's going to automatically find that video, and then we can embed it in the page. So actually go to YouTube. We'll open up a music.
If you shop.
page, and then we can just copy the link up at the top, come back to my project, stick that in. Yep, that's the video that I want, select that. And now I have a video on my page. I can move it any place I want. Let's go ahead and see kind of the settings that we have with it. So we can change like the controls that we have, you know, a couple things, allow full screen. So like I said at the beginning, it does have a, you know, a lot of ability to customize it, but, you know, way less than if you made a homemade website. Maybe I want this, you know, next to my table of contents, and maybe I'll increase the size so it's even next to that, you know, anything that you might want. We can see down at the bottom, all this stuff links to Google Drive things. So if you have a spreadsheet that you want to show on the page, a slideshow you want to build in, a PDF or a text document, all of these you can have on the page pretty easily because Google links to them automatically since it's its own page. So now that we've seen, you know, it's a lot to play with in terms of, you know, make an actual page that's not a mess like this. But that's the basic elements that you have. One thing that we didn't quite look at was these content blocks. When you click on this, it basically adds a whole bunch of things at once. So it adds an image, a text box, and a second text box. So it's just taking a lot of the manual things out of it. So instead of adding all this one by one, you can use some of these pre-built things. And this might be how this popped up. This might be exactly what they use on the NYPL site that looks so good. So those things, you can kind of click and control those. And then you can, you know, delete one if you only want two with a space in the middle, you know, kind of do anything you want to customize it that Google lets you. But the next thing we'll look at is how to add, you know, multiple pages. All of this is now just on the one page, the home page. So let's see how to make a second page. And then once we have multiple pages, what the navigation looks like and all that kind of stuff. So on the right-hand side, we'll leave this one, which is all the elements on the page itself, and come to pages. And this is going to be the list of all my pages across my site. Once we have multiple pages, we'll click on them to go to that edit menu. If we click on the dots at the side, we have a couple options like duplicate the page if we want a second page, which is mostly the same, but just change a couple things. We could change the name of the website and do some customization, like change the name of the web address. Like instead of /home, which we see, I can change it to be, you know, /homepage if I want. So that's what this like custom path and name do. They change the web address name. But we'll go ahead and it's pretty easy. You just click on the plus button and we get a couple options. But what we'll do is just click on new page. I'll call this the contact page. You can call it anything you want. So it pops up. So now I have a second page, but I can still switch back between them. I'll go ahead and just, you know, publish immediately. It's a blank page, but it's still on the site, just so I can see it in a second when it loads. So on this page, what I'm going to do, let's see if it loaded real quick. Okay, yeah, so it is live. So if we look at my site, again, not too pretty, but up at the top now in the top right, we can see that the navigation is beginning to automatically fill in as we add pages. So I have my home button, and that's my home button. And also my logo is my home button. So if I click on that, I also get home. But now I have my second page pop up as well. It's blank at the moment, but it is popping up. So that comes up. We'll notice as we shrink down the website, not only does this content stack so it fits on a mobile screen nicely, but we also get like the mobile style navigation menu instead, because also at the top, we don't have enough space as we pull it down. So that's what's kind of going on with the navigation. It's all automatic. As you add pages, they'll show up that way. We'll add one last blank page and then we'll come back into contact and do some new stuff. But I'm going to come to contact. Instead of just adding a new page, I'm going to go to contact and click on add subpage, and we'll see what this does and what it looks like, just so we know. So I'm just going to give it a name. Let's go ahead and just publish that and give it a second to load. But this is basically setting up the shape of my website. So right now, home and contact kind of at the same level. You see my project /home, my project /contact. This little bit we only see because I'm logged in. The public, won't see that. So this is my web address to this page. But now we can see when I add a sub page instead of just a page, it doesn't show up across this line. You get a little drop down and then you can have a page like that. Just like most websites, you have kind of the main pages up at the top and then you have some sub pages down below it. So this is how we can begin to shape the website and how it's organized. Okay, so let me come back to contact. What was I about to do? Oh yeah, so let's go to settings. So we can see navigation, we just have one little option available to us. So we can put it onto the side if we want. So we'll just see what that looks like. So I think it still needs to update, but I think what that basically does is make it so that you always have this kind of side navigation, even in the full web view. So you just have a little option with that. So you little options with shaping that navigation, but we do have additional options like when we click on a page, the little options below pages. We can switch the home page if we want to make something else the home page. Again, we can change the name of the page and kind of customize its web address to anything that we want. If we want to make it something special, we can delete it at this point, and we can also hide from the navigation. So if we want some web pages on the website that maybe people can get to sometimes, but we don't want it taking up too much space in the navigation, we don't want anyone or everybody going to that page, you can hide it. And then it won't show up in the navigation, but if people have that web address, they can go to it and, things like that. So when I update, yes, now that I've updated, you can see I always have this style in the side if you want to keep the website looking like that. Let me see if this will update. Yeah, so we can see it just updated. So my about page still exists. So I can still get to it if I know to go to contact/about, but now it's hidden in the navigation, so it's not taking up as much space, and it's not so accessible depending on what you need. And then the last thing I want to mention is now that we have multiple pages, we also have a convenient website find tool. So up in the top right, we have this little magnifying glass, and if we type something into that, it's just going to scan all the web pages that you have, mostly looking at the text, and we can see it found this little bit of text on my homepage, and then I can just jump to that. If it found it on multiple pages, it would list all the options. So that's also really useful. Even if you know how to code, an HTML and CSS web page, making something like this is still pretty difficult and advanced if you decide to go the homemade route. That. One last thing that we can do is if we go back to a typical website, so we can see we've done some things. We got the logos that most websites have. We can build a full navigation and subpages. We know how to make a title and kind of the image behind the title. We can add content to the middle of the web page, add buttons and things like that. But something you see on most web pages is the foot section of a web page. This usually has things like, when the business or something is open, address and email and phone, some logos, kinds of things like that, maybe a site map. If we go to NYPL, we can see they got the logo, some information about it, a little site map and different links. We could add links if we want to special pages to have kind of a sub menu below this main navigation menu. So let's see how to add this. And then what we'll do is we'll see how to do it. And then the foot section on most web pages is the same on any page that you look. So if I go to a different web page, we can see I have the exact same section on this page. And we can do that in Google Sites. We just set it up once, and then it's going to propagate to all the pages that we have. So we don't have to make it again and again and again. So we'll just do this on the contact page. Down at the bottom of the kind of canvas, you can click on the add button. I'm just going to fill in, some placeholder text just so we can see it. Go ahead and actually, you know what? Now that we have that, let's kind of make this stand out a little bit. So off to the left, this little box that pops open is going to affect the whole section. So if I have multiple text boxes in this section encapsulates all of those. And one of the options is to kind of design style the section. So this is from my themes. I can kind of click on that to make it stand out. Let me just increase this a little bit so we can see it. I'll go back and publish. We'll give that a second to catch up update-wise. And let's see. So I'm on my homepage actually. And even though I added that section to my contact page, it shows up across all pages, like I said. So contact, address, when the business is open or something, logos, add that to this, and then it's going to show up across all pages. Just like the navigation is the same on all pages up at the top, this is going to be the same across all pages down at the bottom. Okay, so we'll step back from just like adding individual elements to the page and talk about a couple different things. We have less than 20 minutes now, so we'll do a couple last things, and then any questions we might have, we'll do that. So one thing, as we begin to make this site, as you go, you can add things, and then you can do a couple things to undo things. So you can just click on something and then delete it if you don't like. We can use the undo and redo buttons up at the top, so we can undo a couple things if we made a couple changes and didn't like it. We can do that. When we come into Google Drive, we can see my project. One thing we can do, thinking of like having editions of my website. So if I make a whole bunch of changes and want to be able to get back to what it previously was, in case I don't like all the changes that I made across maybe a couple days, we can't undo all of that. So what we might do is we can just make a copy of the website, so we can switch between the two, save an old copy and have the new copy with the new changes. We have these couple options available to us: undo, save a copy, things like that. But in addition, if we click on this menu up at the top right, the top option is going to be kind of a log of all the changes that have happened to the website. And this is something that Google does across all of its apps, like Google Docs and spreadsheets and things. With any of those, you can go back, days, weeks, months. It doesn't save everything from the beginning of time or when you made the file, but it does go back. It can go back a couple months at least, and at least the last couple days or weeks. And what this list is basically is each of these is a timestamp. And when we click on it, it's going to show us what the website looked at this time. At 3:50, when we just begun the class, it was still blank. So if we wanted to, we can click on the actions button. And if we click on this option, we'll make the website go back to this edition of it. So obviously we don't want to go back this deep, but if, this is us up at the top, we might want to go back, 2 editions to undo a couple things. So this is one way that you can kind of manage maintaining the website, making changes, and then being safe in the knowledge that you can go back if you don't like something. You want to go back to the way things used to be. So that is available to you. We'll exit this menu. Let's again talk about, getting the website out. So it is published now, and I made mine totally public. But let me just show you again this menu now that we've actually made the site. So up at the top, the little People Plus button, this is going to be kind of who is available, who can access this website. So right now I have on my published site setting, I just have it as public. But if you want to have like a private site that you only let specific people get to, you can switch it to this. And then it basically means only people with access can open the link. And when we do that, that means we have to specifically add people that we want to be able to get the website. So if I want, Liz to be able to get this website, I can add Liz, and she can view it, or she can edit it. So this would be like a colleague if I had multiple people that want to be able to manage the website that we have. But this would be just someone who's viewing it, who can't get to the edit menu. So you can do that. Switch it to public. If you have like a business that all uses the same kind of Gmail system like we do, you can kind of keep it within that system. But I'll switch mine back to public, and you can do it that way. So you do have some options to kind of keep it safe and keep it private, or just kind of make it as publicly accessible as you want. Next to that button is just a little button to basically copy the link to the actual website. So you can copy that and email it out as you want. Next to it, they do have a little preview button. So this kind of switches to what we've been doing when we've been clicking publish and then just seeing the published site, but you can use this instead. Yep, so I think we've done most of these buttons up at the top. So one thing I wanted to add a little bit of functionality to the website is, let's go to contacts. And like I said, this is mostly a static website. We've seen we can add videos and text and images and all types of things. We can put a link to a file that we have in Google Drive so they can see a PDF, or download a file if we put a link to a file. But one thing they can't do is basically interact with us. They can't send us a message on their website. They can't fill out a little feedback thing. So we can't do that directly with Google Sites, but we can use a second tool and then use this embed button to put something on the site so that they can do something on the site and leave us that kind of feedback, something like that. And this is going to be a second Google tool. It's, nothing too strange. So I'm going to come to Google Drive. I have this made. But basically, what you can do is you can make one of these guys. This is basically like a questionnaire that you can publish online if you haven't done it. So we can use it to like have fields that people can submit comments, leave contact info, answer questions, say what time they'll be available, kind of any question you can ask. We can use this. So the one that I have is just a basic contact info, name, email, address, and comments down at the bottom. And once we have this made, I can click on my send button to kind of send it out so people can leave me, data or feedback any way you want to think of it. And what we need is the embed code. If you've seen like embed on different websites, get like the embed link or the embed code. This is what it is. It's basically a piece of HTML code. That's what this is. And when we basically paste this onto the Google site, it's going to add this element, this Google poll, on the site. So I'm just going to copy this embed link. I'm going to come back to my project. I'll click on add an embed. And it's not just Google that has embeds. All types of things could be embedded on a website. So I'll click on embed code, paste in my iframe. So this is basically going to put this on inside my website. It's not going to be a link to it. It's going to be this itself. So we can see this is what it looks like. I can go ahead and add this. So it's just a box like anything else, but we can see we have this interactive thing inside of it. So let me pull it out a little bit so it's long enough. And then maybe it's about taking up the whole space, so I'll leave it like that. Maybe I'll pull it down a little bit so it's not so stubby. It looks like that's all we can do. But we'll go ahead and just publish it now so we can see it live. We got it published. Let's take a look. Okay, it took a second to load up. But yeah, now we have an interactive thing on the website. So if you want people to leave you a message, any type of question you can ask, this is going to come to my Google Drive in a spreadsheet, all the responses that they give, and email me when they do submit something. So I can do name, email, address, and then I have a button and I can actually upload things to this website. So now we have some actual interactivity on the website and people can leave us things. So that's a useful thing. And things like that, look to see what can be embedded on a website. And then you can add different tools and like mini apps and widgets on this website that you couldn't do with just these basic text buttons and things like that. One thing else I want to mention, especially if you want to use a Google site, full time, you don't want to just do it as a little hobby, see what it's like in this class, but you actually want to make one and use it, is if we go to settings and then we go to analytics, one thing that we can do, again, with Google itself and freely available, is we can enable analytics. And what this basically is doing is it's basically going to track who comes to the website. Not like private data, just a count of how many people visit the website. So if you have a business or you want to see how much traffic you get, you can just kind of set this up and kind of see what traction the website is getting. And you can just click on this button to see what Google Analytics is and take a couple minutes to just make a free account and just stick in this like ID that you need. Click the enable button and then you'll be able to see when and how many people come to the website. Also in this settings, we have this like special little widget thing that we can add to the website. This is something you can use if, this is like a little business website or, like a website in an event, something like that. This is a little message that's going to show up at the top of the page until you take it away. So if you want to like add a text box to the top of this page, saying we'll be closed today, due to lack of staffing, you could do that. But we'll do it like this just to see what it looks like. So it's going to add a little message. We'll see what this looks like. Info. So basically a message, you get a little button next to that message and then just add a web link. I just added Google. I'm just going to open it in a new tab. And then you can choose which page to add it to, maybe only the home page so they don't constantly keep seeing it, but you can add it to all pages as well. So we'll add, let's see if that added. Yep, so it should be showing. So let's go ahead and publish and just double check that it shows up. Yeah, so we can see what it looks like. And this is, exactly the way that you would use it if you plan to be closed one day. You can add a little message at the top of the page.
Now I noticed that you have, if you have it, and it might be because of your website,
Yeah.
when you put, it looks like you have a time on it, so that we're closed right now. We open at 10 o'clock, or whatever. Is there a time frame? Like that's what your library does, Melbourne Library does.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So,
yeah, we don't
well, it's not there now, but so
Yeah.
you only have it up there on, when you're not open.
Yeah, so so I add the custom message a couple days ahead of closing and holidays, we'll be closed.
Not even that, just on a regular day. We're closed right now. We open. So this doesn't have not a calendar. It doesn't have a clock where you can set it.
Like, can you like automate it to automatically show up and then go away?
Yeah.
That's kind of the question. This, no. So when you add a message, you'll have to come back in when you want it to go away and, delete it and just flag it off. You don't have any way of like
I'll tell
setting
you,
a
this
clock.
this is very sophisticated after learning HTML and JavaScript, all that stuff. I'm really impressed with it. And
Yeah, it has a lot of stuff with
it's
it.
a lot of
and-
nice. I guess my question to you, and I'm sorry if you're not
No, go
finished
ahead.
yet, is, I mean, maybe I want to just put up a website to have resources for knitters and crocheters.
Yeah.
But I don't want to put my information on. So on the footnote, I just put JG Designs. But
Huh.
do you have to? I know it's good practice, but I don't want anybody to contact me. I don't want to put my email on there.
Yeah, no, you don't have to at all.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's totally up to you. You can do anything you want on this website, so you can leave off all contact info. If you
Good.
want, you could even make a second Gmail account and just use that with this website, so it's not linked to you at all, and
that's
have a
good.
second email because it's free to make a second one. So it's totally up to you how much you include, or just make a second dummy email. You
And
can
then
build
my
that.
other question is,
Yeah.
can it, how many people can sign up? Like, say I was offering whatever, $100. How many people can sign on and it not crash?
Let me see. How much?
Traffic, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know off the top of my head. I mean, I imagine most of us could not just like immediately hit the limit. I mean, we know that NYPL uses it, and lots of people must
yeah.
come to this
Oh, yeah,
website.
yeah.
So
All right.
it must be pretty good, yeah.
I didn't realize that this was Google Drive.
Yeah.
And all the programs I've taken with them, all of them,
Yeah.
never ever mention it's a Google Drive. Maybe they changed over, I don't know, but in the last year and a half, nobody's ever mentioned it.
Yeah. I think it's it's not like the oldest Google app that's been available. So it's not totally new, but it might be kind of relatively new next to the rest of the Google apps.
All right, good. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Really, really, really nice. I think this is what I may use for, like I said, I always tell people stuff and I email them, but I may just create a site to provide resources,
Yeah, it's a good site, good thing to make. And then, if you want to keep it private,
Yeah,
you
which I
just
did.
go to the,
Yeah.
Only people with link, and then you just add people's email, and then they have the link and only they can get to it, that kind of thing.
Okay, sounds good. Really great. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's all the planned things. That's basically all the essentials: setting up the theme, how to add blocks and move them and align them on the page, making multiple pages. Lots of, probably fun stuff you can get to once you make a really in-depth website. Again, take a look at these guys to see kind of what they have and kind of imagine how you could duplicate it. But yeah, not too shabby a tool.
All right. Have a good week.